Welcome back to another episode of How to Make Money with Hard Money. And I'm joined today by my partner, Caleb Delgado. And today we wanted to talk about new construction loans, with the growing demand in the market for new construction loans, especially in the state of Florida.
Yep.
We've had a lot of frequently asked questions. So today we wanted to jump into, how does a new construction loan work?
Yeah. New construction with the demand coming out there, more and more applications come in. And people, we need to keep giving them the knowledge of actually how to be successful with new construction. A lot of the times we're getting new first-time builders, and a lot of people are building without the proper knowledge and the order of how construction should work in the 16 divisions of construction.
Yep.
So not only do we have to walk them through it, but we have to educate them on the process, a lot of the builders.
Yeah, so there's newer builders, but there's also very experienced builders that we work with that just haven't used construction financing with a lender before.
Yeah.
And so just understanding how the lender operates and how they think and how they structure the financing is really important for builders to navigate these builds. And so, draw schedules and how that works, because, everybody knows that they get held up in draw schedules, and people hate that because everybody needs their cash.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is, a lot of people were used to using direct banks. And with hard money becoming so prevalent in this industry and in real estate in general, it is a little bit of a different nuance with hard money privately.
Yeah.
So I think...
Yeah, I think probably everybody does it a little differently too, right?
For sure. Draw administration and how the loans are structured in general.
Yeah.
So
we'll kind of talk today about how DKC Lending administers our draws and what, is important to us and what we're looking for. I guess we can start at the beginning, right? So when application comes in and we're looking at the build, you're dealing with the front end sales. So what are the things that you're looking for right away? What if there's the top three?
So the top three things we're looking at, one is their experience, right? We need to know if they've actually done a new construction build before. Also, their cash basis is a very big thing that we would have to look. And then also if they have a GC involved, I think that's another big thing. Who's actually performing the work. So I think those would be three major things that we'd be looking at.
Yeah,
but
I think the spending, like the land cost and the spending is number one, just to confirm that.
For sure.
I think based on for how we procure our financing, we are 50% behind the cash basis of new construction.
Correct.
So, and we've found now, after administering these for the last 4 years at DKC, we found that the borrowers really need to be a minimum all in of at least 125 grand cash into these things. Because, and we'll kind of talk about why, but because if 50%, you're going to be behind them, your first draw, you really need to be walking away with every bit of 50 grand or so.
Absolutely.
To be able to move the construction project to the next threshold.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you can give a little clarity on when we talk about cash basis, a lot of people don't understand the difference between hard costs and actual soft costs.
Yeah,
I think there's a big discrepancy there. And if you could go into a couple of the differences of what actually consists of cash basis.
That's a great question. So what consists of cash basis for us is the land acquisition cost, which is number one.
Yep.
And then whatever construction spend was done to that point of you closing the hard money loan.
Okay.
So soft cost, hard cost, people pay for utility fees, permit fees, engineer, architect plans. These are soft costs. Hard cost to us is, you poured the slab, you bought your blocks and installed your stem wall. You've demoed a house off the property. You've blocked your walls and your trusses. And, one of the common questions is, oh, well, I bought my trusses, but they're not installed yet.
Yeah.
And so every lender kind of handles that a little differently. For us, everything must be installed to be credited towards the cash basis.
Right.
That's key for us because, in a worst case scenario, we have to repossess the asset, and we're willing to administer construction draws because we know how to handle these assets if we did have to repossess. And so, life happens. It's not always somebody had a failed construction project. Normally it's somebody had, there could have been a death or a family issue that, caused them to just not be able to finish the project. Yeah. And on new construction, there's no cash flow, right?
Correct.
So if you, didn't plan your how you're going to make your interest payments, or you get stalled for an extended period of time, you can default on a new construction loan.
Yeah. And I think another thing for people to understand when you're talking about payments is new construction loans are not deferred. So you will be paying these payments in the middle of the project. So you must budget accordingly to make sure that they can be made.
Yep. So I guess kind of coming back to your initial question, it's those, it's the hard costs for us. So your land acquisition, your hard costs from slab, block, demo, actually installed materials at that time. Another key for us is that we need receipts, and you actually have to have paid for those materials. Yeah. Sometimes we see well, I have my slab and blocks up, but I owe the contractor 20 grand. And so now when I get my first draw, it's 20 grand's already gone to pay somebody for something that you were supposed to have already gotten credit for. Now you're short 20 grand on your next draw.
Correct.
So that's something that we see a lot of.
Yeah. So going into that, how will the lender, DKC Lending, frame up the draw schedule? Where would it begin, and how would a borrower start to, one, apply, and then give you the draw schedule they would like to do, and how would you frame it up for their success?
Yeah. So typically, it depends. Number one, it depends on the land value.
Okay.
Because if you're buying a $25,000 lot, we don't finance that land. You have to have the cash for it. If it's a, $300,000 lot, we may finance a portion of the land and 100% of the construction. Gotcha. So it depends on the value, and that kind of dictates the rest of the project, the land value, because that's how much cash you have in. Okay. So I think even before, because I want to answer that, but even before that, the draw schedule, the first draw getting 50% of your cash basis. If you have, let's say you have 150K in, you're going to get 75K of your first draw at closing. So when you close the loan, you got 150K cash, you're going to walk away with 75K. And when I say walk away, that's misleading because you're not actually walking away with 75.
That's right.
One of the things people do not look at is the closing costs. You have your closing costs for the loan. Right. And if it's a $300,000 loan and you're, let's say your initial funding is $75,000, you might only walk away with $50,000. Right. Right. If you have tax bills due, it depends.
So then at that point, if there is so-called a deficiency or lack of capital at that moment to get to the next draw, does that mean that the builder has to come out of pocket, or what happens at that moment?
Yeah, the builder would have to come out of pocket. Really, and our job is to prevent that from happening in underwriting. Okay. So, we try to verify the cost basis so we know and prepare you. So your expectations are that, you're going to walk away with 50 grand, and we look at your rehab budget and say, what threshold can you get to if you walked away with 50K cash? Okay. What's your next threshold in the construction project? And so people come to us for construction financing at every different phase. So sometimes we're, again, at land acquisition, and sometimes they have their permit in hand, and other times they've already poured their slab, blocked their walls, and they have the roof on, and they're coming for us to dry it in. I mean, we just closed the loan last week. The project was damn near done. It only had landscaping missing. Yeah. And it just didn't have CO. Yeah. So literally every area, and I think we're underwriting today a new construction loan that has a CO, but it's on the market to be sold. So it's a very short-term bridge loan to go buy the next lot and start construction. Yeah, true. So, we come in at every different phase. Right.
So then going back to this draw schedule, are you percentage driven like banks? Is it permit driven, inspection driven, or how would you say you're structuring the thresholds for private lending or DKC lending?
Yeah, we are structured as far as threshold lenders. So, again, you pour your slab, you block your walls, you get a draw. You frame the house, you have your trusses in, you pass your MEPs, you get a draw. And so, and you're going to be paying your contractors at these thresholds as well. You're not going to pay a roofer until you pass the city roof inspection. Yeah. So the draws make sense for us in that way because you pass your roof inspection. Cool. Now you're going to get money from us and you're going to pay your contractor. So it's timed appropriately. The threshold also, it's more clear. It's inspection based on a city versus percentage of can be confusing. If you're, let's say, doing baseboards and you have all the baseboards installed except for one room, now, your $2,000 line item, you're going to get $1,800 for, and you got to do, it's harder to keep track of, I think, as well for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So then when going into these draw schedules, what would you say when builders can't actually meet them? They're deficient themselves. They come back to you and saying, hey, we need an adjustment on this draw schedule. As a private lender, I know DKC, we're doing a lot of adjustments on it. So what are we thinking at that moment, and how are we adjusting to accommodate our client?
Yeah, at the end of the day, we want our borrowers to be successful and complete the project. And also we need to hedge our position and make sure that we're safe and secured as a lender so we can continue to lend and stay in business. So for us, the area where we focus on is that, like I said, that cash basis and being able to administer that first draw and not get caught at that stage. And once that's happened and you did have, a cost overrun or, something totally popped up that was unforeseen or you misbudgeted, then we need to make sure your project keeps moving. And so we just are looking at adjustments and saying, okay, what did you do? Did you do something else instead of that? Is there a real cost overrun? With send me receipts and send us the ability to review it. And then if the cost overrun happened, does that mean you're going to sell your product for more? Does that change the after repair value in our LTV at all? So I think we try to take like a really practical approach to understanding what happened, why. And yeah, we've administered, I want to say over 90% of our draw schedules for new construction had reasonable, logical adjustments made along the way.
Yeah. Going into that, I think one of the greatest parts, which it's a greatest parts for DKC lending, is how we administer on Dutch interest. And one of the things I like to tell clients that people are like, oh, it's Dutch interest. I'm paying on the total loan amount that I'm given day one. But what I like to let people know is, DKC lending, we provide the funding. It's already waiting for you. No matter where the market goes, you already have access to that capital.
Yeah, it's allocated.
It's allocated to you. So no matter if the market's up, the market's down, it's there for you when you meet your thresholds. So you can guarantee that money will be there.
Yeah.
Whereas other lenders, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it too, right? You can even say, like, we've seen lenders that ran out of money and don't have the money to administer their draws, right?
People come to us for those loans all the time.
We refinance them often.
Yeah.
So you're paying for the full loan amount, as you said, called Dutch interest. You're paying interest on the full loan amount, even though you only got, maybe only got a portion of that as your first draw. But that's because the money is actually in a trust account waiting for you. And we turn around draw requests if everything's met in 24 to 48 hours. So we're super quick. We try to make it easy. We're working with a third-party inspection company as well that, you submit some receipts, some photos. We don't even have to send an inspector to the property. You actually send the photos in. Yeah. Then we check the inspection results online. If you pass the inspections that we set up on the thresholds, check, send. And we send a wire right to your account.
And that seems quite easy. So then going into that and going into the next part of the construction is you were talking about financing people at the end when it was almost having CO. So when they're coming to us, is that to get to their next project? Or how do we help builders? Or what you say is how do we help builders parlay into their next project?
Yeah, I think we hear a lot of builders talk about, you really need to have, Andy said it on the podcast last week that at first he didn't realize that he needs his next project right away because there's a ramp up period. You got to get permits, approvals, and it takes a while. So when you're finishing your first, whatever project you're on, you're finishing that project, most of the time you've already bought your other lot or you've eyed it up and you've got working on plans so you can kind of roll right into the next one. And Andy does a great job of that.
Yeah.
And so basically being able to collateralize the house that's finished or almost finished and potentially a new lot, depending on how much leverage you're looking for. We add draw schedules. Sometimes we just fund 100% because we like where the LTV is at. Yeah. So we're quite flexible and it's really just value driven.
And I think
that's
people,
really important,
I think a lot of builders, that's why the relationship's so important for a hard money lender is what I tell people is if we're handling one of your projects and we know you have 2 or 3 lots that you're going to go into in your next one, it's easy for us to create the timelines or work with you on your timelines to make sure you get to your next project as seamless as possible. Because we all know in real estate, it doesn't go as planned.
Especially new construction, right?
Right. And then also cost of supply chains, they're always adjusting, markets are adjusting.
Yeah.
So, having the same lender that's working with you on multiple projects, especially with new construction, I found I've had a lot of success with clients because I can meet their needs in a very, very specific way for them.
Yeah.
Because although there's a structure for building, every builder has their own nuances of how they like to do things, right? No builder is the same. No one project is the same in any project. And with DKC, it's like, we look at you as the individual. We understand the subs that you're using. We're vetting these subs. And once we've vetted all the people that you work with, because you're not going to be getting new people every time. It's very difficult to get new subs every single project.
And we're not really checking your subs, especially if you have the track record and you're the GC, you've completed builds. We make it really easy to deal with.
Yeah. So going with new construction, what do you see with the demand coming in, what do you see as the future for new construction in Florida, especially in the South? Because we're here in the South in Florida.
Yeah, well, you can kind of even help me reflect on the MPLA conference we were at in Miami about 3-4 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
What were they? They were saying that new construction ground up is the #1 product nationwide as well, right?
Yeah, they were very bullish on new construction. They think it was going to continue, and that the demand from the people, I mean, a lot of people want new homes.
Yeah.
And neighborhoods are changing.
Lack of supply still, I think, on the new, especially, we're here in Florida in spring 2024. So there's still a lack of supply.
Yeah.
So if we can, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of land. I think the main markets like South Tampa, then Pinellas County, these landlocked areas are tougher to build in, or the land's more valuable, I should say.
Yeah.
But there's still plenty of build opportunities. But there's also all these interesting stories of submarkets happening around.
Because of the price points.
Because of the price points.
Yeah, metro areas like Tampa is skyrocketed. Well, that's skyrocketed, but it has increased.
Oh, it's
and it has pushed people out.
Far more expensive.
Yeah.
The affordability. I mean, they talked about that at the conference as well. These areas are less affordable when you just look at the average income level versus the asset. People are spending a higher percentage of their income on housing. So by definition, that is unaffordable.
Right.
In a way. So now these submarkets, as you're saying,
that have all sprouted up everywhere, especially outside of the Tampa Bay area. And in the MPLA, they were saying that that's only going to increase.
Yeah.
So and that speaks well because our applications for new construction has gone up as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, I think it's not just Florida or Tampa.
Right.
Obviously Tampa, I think we see it up north to like Newport Richie and up to Brooksville areas and certainly over to Lakeland, Plant City, kind of going to the middle of the state. But we were reading that Miami's having the same thing. They're all kind of moving up the coast.
Yeah.
So the Orlando area, and who's kind of replacing them is out of state.
Yeah.
Out of state buyers, the Northeast, a lot of Northeast buyers where their income levels can be higher sometimes.
Yeah.
And that these homes are more affordable to them because they were comparing them to a higher tax rate and, higher asset price and where they came from.
And then you have natural disasters, the whole Fort Myers area, what the hurricane came through and, basically destroyed a lot of the area.
Yeah.
So a lot of redevelopment was in demand and people have to build. There was no choice because, a lot of FEMA money came in there and builders are going in there to help the people and build. So the demand was extremely high.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. So I guess on new construction, anything else that we should hit on as far as maybe the closing costs and payments a little bit more?
Yeah.
So let's go back to that example. You got $150K cash into the thing and we give the $75K first draw. We said that the closing cost is something people don't always expect or understand that they're going to net. So they're only going to walk away with 50, not 75. Right. And then the payments, kind of go into detail a little bit about the interest payments.
Yeah. So a lot of people have to understand that that's coming out of your pocket. A lot of people like to budget them in there, but in the end, we understand what construction costs are, and there is a cost of doing business and you are to pay your payments out of your pocket. And as much as you would like to budget them in
meaning like adding it to your rehab schedule and trying to finance them. Right?
Correct. And but it's going to come out of your pocket and it's going to be on the total loan amount. So yet again, we're using the $150,000 number. If you're borrowing $150,000 and getting 75 at the table, which you probably will only net around 50, 60,000, whatever it might be, you're still paying $1,500 a month. And you're going to need to understand if your bill time is 6 months, well, you have to pay that $1,500 for the next 6 months.
Yep.
So a lot of people, sometimes forget like, what about my payments? Well, they'll be ACH'd out of your account every first. So you need to make sure that that's accounted for. And if there are delays, that just increases how much more out of pocket you have to be.
Exactly.
Because we're not going to give you the money and then you get to pay your interest with the money that we give you. Yeah. That kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Exactly. Okay, good. That's a really good point. So just kind of making sure you have a reserve budget and you have that contingency plan for your interest payments, utility bills.
Yeah.
There are other soft costs in the projects that should be budgeted in. I guess impact fees is the other, right?
Just about to go right into impact fees.
We've seen impact fees can be very expensive, and what are impact fees, right? I mean, you want to answer that?
Well, yeah. I mean, going into the impact fees, at the end of the day, the city will charge you for those fees, and they can be. What is it about? I mean, $20,000, $30,000 at some of the costs?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you are. And
one in Osceola. We just did one in Osceola, and the guy, it was Osceola County, and they paid the impact fees up front.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some counties make you pay them up front.
Yeah.
Some counties make you pay them before you get your CO.
Yeah.
But the impact fee is, it's a fee that the city takes based on the impact of the new home. So they look at, the density of the home, how many people could live there, and what kind of sewage waste and power and all that that goes into the city impact. And so they charge you for that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes Especially if you like are splitting, subdividing lots and you're tapping into the sewer and you're adding
course.
new, it can be even more.
It's stress on the system.
And so it's just a line item. It's in every build, but if you didn't budget for it and you're already having cost overruns, which a lot of people did because, the market's been tough, it can cause issues. And you like don't get CO, then you can't get extra draw, and then you're looking for a draw modification.
Yeah.
So,
And that's another big reason to work with a creative hard money lender like us. A lot of our builders bring other lots that they have that they're getting ready to build and leverage with us.
yeah.
So we happen to give people competitive advantages and builders competitive advantages where they'll say, okay, I'm doing this build on this piece of land here. And, they give us the plans and we do the loan. But then they're like, you want to know what? I don't want to come out of pocket. I would not like to use my cash, which is fine with us. It's not all about, totally cash basis.
Yeah,
it's about
that's a
if
great
you
point.
leverage other lots with us and you bring multiple lots that you're going to build on anyway, but you want to leverage them at that moment where we give you 100% of the proceeds, that's okay too.
Yeah, we find that's a great correction because we do finance 100%, and cash to us can mean equity, collateral, land, whatever. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, so because we have plenty of builders have 10, 15, 20 lots, and they're like, hey, we'll do this lot, but I'll give you 3 other lots. Give me the whole amount. And we've done that plenty of times to keep their projects moving on and to talk about the overruns.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of them maintain or compensate for overruns when the construction project is going on.
Really good point.
And another reason why we help them become successful.
Yep. Awesome.
All those creative ways to create that success.
Yeah. Again, I think we try to always say that we're like logical, practical lenders that, are operators ourselves. We understand. And as long as it makes sense and there was no, real negligence or fraud or anything like that, we want everyone to be successful.
Yeah. And I think another good thing to talk about for us is, especially with you, because you have a lot more of a construction development background than I do, is how we've educated our team to be able to understand the language of our builders and our clients. Because that's another big thing too, is, you go to a lot of lenders or banks and the person they're going to get their loan done doesn't necessarily have that experience, have the construction licensing to truly understand how the construction process works.
Yeah.
So, I know you especially have pushed our loan consultants to get that education to be able to talk that language.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I think that's why probably a lot of lenders don't offer construction financing and draw schedules it is difficult to administer. It's a lot of work on the system and on the servicing department. So I think that's why people don't. We like them because we are in the business as well. We own a development company. We have the GC license. We're building right now,
Right.
And have plans to grow that in the future. So we're not afraid of it. But I think that for our team, it's important to be able to speak the language. And we talk about it. We're not trying to get them to be builders either,
Right.
or trying to turn them into builders.
We're lenders.
But they do, the more they can provide value to the clients and understand what the clients are trying to do or our borrowers, then they can position the borrowers better, make sure that they're not missing anything or prevent anybody from having a oopsie,
Yeah.
So
and those oopsies cost money.
and borrowers like to be heard and speak to people that speak their language, you know.
Right.
So I think there's some truth to that. And if you have a lender who's providing financing but also understands the struggles and problems that you're dealing with, like, look, we build homes too. We know, subcontractors need their money or they'll walk off the job site. We know that, it's happened to us.
Yeah.
so
and that
so
can
we
crush
know
your
how
bottom line.
we know how quickly draws matter, the speed. So anyways.
Yeah, no. So us at DKC, we will continue to provide construction financing. We see it as a big positive for the future.
Yeah.
We have allocated a lot of capital for it, and we see a bright future for Florida, especially.
Yeah, we're going to try to continue to educate the team and try to be able to provide a better service. And even right now, we've made shifts on how we administer our draws with the inspection process. We've redesigned our draw schedule about 4 times, once again recently, trying to make it easier and better to understand. So we're not perfect, and we're trying to get better also as we go. And so I have confidence we'll keep improving as well.
I wanted to ask you advice you would give to a new builder, because it is a different process from a loan consultant's perspective and I know in underwriting, when a first-time builder comes versus someone experienced.
Yeah.
What would advice you would give to a new builder going in for their first loan for new construction?
Yeah, I guess would be to have enough cash, just to not over leverage. I think, wanting to build, bringing in, and it can mean bringing in a partner. If you don't have the cash yourself, you can still build. you can have an equity partner with you that can, make sure that if there is a cost overrun or you do get jammed up or you can't make an interest payment, you're not faced with a default situation right away. And so I think like just having partners, equity, enough cash, that gives you options. And if you get jammed, you can kind of work your way through it with money, So I think that would be my first. And if it's if it's a first time, developer who's not the GC themselves, then to, vet a GC to a high level and make sure you have a partner almost in a GC.
Yeah.
And if you are the GC, then I'm sure you're going to be off to a hot start.
Yeah. I would also say is because in Florida, do you have to have a GC license in order to build?
No, so you don't have to have a GC license in order to build. You can do an owner permit. There's, stipulations around that and how you administer that per county and city. Also, like engineers and architects can also, file for permits and plans in the state of Florida as well.
And that doesn't make DKC lending look at the loan any different?
No.
Well, that easy, huh?
Yep. We're collateral back lenders, right? That's why it's like, do you need experience? You mentioned we look at experience. We look at it. You don't need it though. You can be a first time home buyer or a builder. You can be an experienced guy. Our terms are going to be pretty similar because we're asset backed lenders. We try, so.
Now, what would you say? Because I know we've been asked this question many a times with builders. They want deferred interest. Is it something we don't do it? We haven't done it. Is it something that we would do in the future, or something that we're not looking into? Or
yeah, well, nice question. I know because that we are kind of looking into that, and it's a different type of capital to raise, so it's not as easy to administer, but it would be looking like a compounding interest if there was, and paying interest on the back end that's compounding, and there are lenders that do that as well. So it's something we're looking at, and if we can get the right capital source. I mean, we've done it once or twice here. We do it internally as well. Yeah. So we're kind of trying to test it out right now.
Yeah, and the reason I kind of said that, in a leading way, just because to let people know, because I get the question all the time as chief of sales, so I have to deal with that a lot. But what people don't realize is when you ask for those changes, it comes at a cost. A lot of people still want the same charges when they want these adjustments or these creative financing deals. So when we get this platform, I like to let people know is, you want an adjustment, you want something creative or special to you, which we can do. We have the ability to, but everything comes at a cost. You want this, it costs that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of work, and it's not easy for us to just change a draw schedule either. We have to re-underwrite the entire file essentially too. So there's a cost because there's real work behind it as well.
Yeah, and I would think there's portions of loan documents that have to change.
Oh yeah, there's legal, there's all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So, and investors and all, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I think, providing more clarity and how it works can only help the understanding.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well,
cool. Well, that was a really good deep dive into some construction financing today.
Yeah. It's growing, and we look forward to doing a lot more.
Yeah. Submit your questions. Maybe we could do a follow up if we have more questions on this product, but it's certainly been a hot topic, and we've had a lot of calls about this. So.
Yeah. So
cool.
Send your applications in right now.
Send them in.
Lending.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of How to Make Money with Hard Money. Like, subscribe, and follow on all social media platforms and YouTube podcasts.